As we move forward and we consider the results, I guess it's worth noting that, at least from my knowledge, there's no other survey in the marketplace that covers such a broad set of aspects as spoken about. And I guess the feedback we've got from a lot of organisations along with JLL has been really positive, in that one CEO turned around and told us that he was almost gobsmacked that we're able to produce a report that was so specific and relevant to their organisation. And the reason for his surprise was that we actually hadn't visited the organisation or spoken to anyone except for the safety manager. So I guess that gives us confidence moving forward that the survey does have some relevance and validity. And I guess as we continue rolling out across other organisations, we're hoping to get some similar feedback as well. The way that we've designed the survey is we've got both inputs and outputs, with a view that over time we anticipate we'll have a much more predictive way of understanding what levers to pull to improve outcomes. So those outcomes particularly around employee and safety engagement and health and wellbeing. So the outcomes around health and wellbeing, there you can see sleep in particular, the lowest score. So people had responded that in the previous 4 weeks from completing the survey that they had trouble sleeping, which, as you'll see in a second, is highly correlated to health and wellbeing. Not surprising, but also food for thought in terms of trying to understand what sort of messages we should be sending to people and helping people with, or even asking good questions around how they're managing their own personal health and wellbeing. So typically these types of surveys are done every 12 months annually. So, often if you can coincide the survey with your strategic planning cycle, that often helps with decision making and strategic planning for the year moving forward. So the correlation between safety engagement and employee engagement, it was pretty close to 1-to-1. So I think from memory, Jeanette, the employee and safety engagement with JLL was within 1%.
Yeah, it was just under 2%. Yeah, that's right, very close. 1 or
2%. So, and I guess for those who know stats well, a score of 0.86 is, it's almost a 1-to-1 relationship. So that's been a huge surprise for me, particularly given that the 22 questions are completely different in there. And apart from being positively correlated from a data point of view, people might say, so what? So I guess as we think about so what, what does that actually mean? It's not news that general organisational culture and engagement is related to safety, and the two should be, managed hand in hand. Often people say it's not necessarily safety culture, it's culture more broadly. I guess what it tells me is that, I guess at least from my experience, is that often safety professionals work in isolation of the rest of the organisation. I don't know how many organisations I've been in where there's been some sort of HR or people and culture initiative that's worked in isolation of the safety teams. And as it comes to safety leadership and safety culture, the two really should be working hand in hand in terms of not only combining resources and thinking and expertise, but as you start thinking about either surveys or other initiatives, understanding how you can work together to, I guess, achieve those common goals.
And just one here from Tony. Have blue-collar workers been involved in the survey? If so, was there a difference in the survey results?
Yeah, often there is. So there's often a mismatch with what we're seeing between not only different positions and geographical cohorts, but also senior leaders versus frontline staff. And that in particular has been around the linkage between the vision of the organisation and the work that they're doing. Often senior leaders, for whatever reason, don't necessarily have the same sort of visibility around bullying, harassment, or people taking safety violations in the field. So it does, I think, highlight some of those challenges to senior leaders to give them more visibility of what's happening throughout the workplace.
Brilliant.
So the next slide here is really talking around levers. We are getting to a bit of detail now, but the reason I'm sharing this and to answer the question initially around safety engagement is that although this is only a bit of a snapshot of some of the question sets and levers, is that by understanding the relative scores amongst the questions and the respective levers, it allows organisations to prioritise their resources and make informed decisions around strategy. So the example on the screen is only an example, but if safety expectations, communication, and the provision of equipment and conditions is not up to scratch, well, that helps inform organisations of where to prioritise their effort. So in theory, at least, what we'd like to be able to show in time is that by using this information, doing the survey again, we're not only seeing improvements in safety performance, but we're also seeing improvements in the relative scores in these surveys as well. And if anything, that helps organisations with their return on investment and getting stuff done in a prioritised way.
It was really a very interesting presentation. I'm sorry we couldn't see more of you, Mark, but we certainly got a lot of information. I loved hearing about the JLL journey, Jeanette. It's fantastic, and celebrating results I thought was really fantastic, because quite often they get shoved in the corner and you focus on the negative. But hearing that you focused on the positive was great. The survey was very broad and covered, I thought, very relevant topics. I loved the idea of the safety conversations and the consultation, two very different things, and time pressures. People forget the time pressures that a lot of our staff are under. I actually look forward to hearing the results of next year's survey.